So hi everyone and welcome to another Franchisor chat. We've got a special guest, which is Blair, who is the Divisional Franchisor for the gym's pool care division. And they also feature on the gym's Monopoly board as well. Do you know what services you have on the board? Do
you remember? You know you've made it if you're on Jim's Monopoly, mate. Thanks for having me, Joel.
And no worries. So what I thought we'd do today is introduce obviously Brett to the gym's family, to anyone who's thinking about franchising or purchasing a franchise in general. Brett will have some great advice about that and tell his story as well. And we'll also touch on the franchise offering yourself, some advice for franchisors in the group as well, some general business advice, and then obviously some questions to get to know Brett better. So let's start off first with Brett, about your story with gyms. I know it's a long one, but if you can try and do a quick summary for people who are meeting you for the first time to let them know.
No worries, mate. I do talk too much once I get going. So my story, in a nutshell, was IT project manager, moved to Queensland when I was about 35, about to start a family. We knew we were going to have a couple of kids, didn't want to work the 60-hour weeks in the city. And I know a lot of people are going through that right now. Do I want to be working and commuting in the city? And, you know, we're getting lots of interesting franchise inquiries about people wanting to change their career and their life, because families become a little bit more important. So that's what happened to me 15 years ago. Long story short, I went to a franchise expo, found out about Jim's Pool Care. Thought it was a great opportunity because it was labour and retail. I just didn't want to be swapping time for money. I needed to be able to throw something else in that mix, because I'd read a lot of books my whole life, which is one thing I'd encourage people to do, is read lots of books about sales and entrepreneurship and that. And then brought a franchise, got that going with a master franchise, started selling franchises, loved the system so much. I brought the whole division and worked with Jim on that, and that went through. I brought it off an entrepreneurial couple who had started it up. It was around 28 franchises back then. We're now up to 112 franchises. So that's a little over 10 years or so. I've done that. But I guess the goal in taking on that division was about improving it. I'm always constantly trying to improve what we're doing here at Jim's Pool Care. So whether it's marketing, the way we look, the way we handle sales, better deals for the franchisees. I'm always crunching deals with suppliers and trying to get a better lick for the franchisees. Lots of training. We're training more than ever nowadays. So I thought what's happened recently might slow down our training, but we've had some great online webinars going on nationally and massive attendance. Like, we're getting 50 franchisees to online training webinars, learning more about pumps, filters, chlorinators, chemicals. But yeah, so my story was I went from zero to hero in the space of about 3 years. So it went pretty quickly, but I was motivated. I was always a motivated young guy who wanted, I figure if I'm going to go to work each day, why not go as hard as you can? So
in regards to franchisor advice, we've done a series with some main franchisors. I think we've done dog wash, cleaning as well. So maybe I just want to ask you some questions for our franchisor group, you know, and how you do your division. So what are some tips for newer franchisors into the system? Because it's obviously a very steep learning curve. You know, you do the training, the 3-day basic training, and then you're sort of thrown into it. It can be confusing with documents and amendments and novations and whatever else. So what's your best advice for a new franchisor in the gym system?
Big question, Joel.
It is a big question, very open-ended.
I believe you need to understand the business you're getting into, right? So whether that's going out with other franchisees or you grant yourself a territory and get into it yourself, that's up to you to decide. But, you know, a couple of tips would be, don't get sucked into the vortex of being a franchisee. Being a franchisee is wonderful. You can build a great business out of being a franchisee, but always remember why you got into that business was to grow a larger business, which was to bring on new franchisees and help them be successful. Nothing wrong with having your own franchise business, because there'll become a crossroads at some point where your franchisee business that you granted yourself to learn the business and have a bit of cash flow becomes so big and overwhelming, because normally franchisors are pretty motivated initially and they will grow a great franchisee business. And then they've got this two hats going on. I've got this franchisee business and a franchisor business. I say you need to be wearing your franchisor hat daily. Don't do it once a week. Don't do it once a month. Every day, what should I be doing on my franchisor business? Am I doing any current marketing to sell franchises? Which is another trap. Franchisors throw a bit of money at it early And if you don't get a sale away in that first 3, 6, 12 months, you start to go down the franchisee path fairly quickly because you need that cash flow. But I say don't give up. So speak to other franchisors in your division, speak to other franchisors in other divisions about how they attracted franchisee inquiries, what they did to sell franchises. And a lot of the time it is genuinely, Joel, going back to basics. If you get an inquiry, you jump on it straight away. You get in front of that prospect straight away and give them all the information they need. You blow them away with great service and because they're going to be working with you longer term. So if I'm going to be working with you longer term and you don't call me for 2 days, am I really trusting you that you're the right guy who's going to train me and teach me all the right things to do? If you show up all disheveled and frazzled and, you're telling them about how exhausted you are and how you got too much work, what if I was just getting into it for a cruisy little side hustle and I just wanted this nice little casual franchise because I'm cashed up and I've got plenty of money, and you're telling me how exhausted you are and you've got too much going on. So you've really got to be showing up to those franchisee meetings and phone calls with the right frame of mind. And the way to, I guess, learn that frame of mind is to get mentorship off other successful franchisors and listen closely at that Jim's franchisor training. Go back and read some of that stuff in the Jim's franchisor training. Have a look at the resource center you've built for the franchisors, Joel. Some really great stuff in there. And you've got to immerse yourself in being a franchisor. Otherwise, 2 years down the track, you're a glorified franchisor because you might have 1 or 2 franchisees and a massive franchisee business, which sounds great, but, keep coming back to that original goal. And I don't say it's easy, Joel. I don't say it's easy. It's very difficult for some franchisor regions for whatever reason. And over time, if you think it's not for you and you think you should be a franchisee, maybe have a chat to your divisional or Jim about, and I'm not saying admit defeat. I'm saying just make a rational business decision, sell that region and go down the franchisee path and give someone else a crack at growing that region.
You mentioned some great things there, and you said exactly where I was sort of trying to go with it. And we do have a lot which are either the full-time franchisor and they're full-time stores with great versions. We do it a large, you are half on the tools and half on the Z. And I can understand you if you're a Z, you're making great money. You might make a couple of $100,000 a year out of your franchise or whatever. Plus you got the region there as well. But I think what you just said, that if you're not really have an honest assessment of yourself and really committed to growing that regional franchise or business, and you just want to do half and half, you do have to make that a financial assessment. You're paying, you're paying a set of fees, obviously, on the region, and it does need that attention. And the stuff about treating all inquiries like they're a customer is really important. I think, not just waiting until the end of the day to call that inquiry when you got it at 9 a.m. or if you get it at 7 o'clock at night, why not call them straight away at 7 o'clock because that's when they're keen. Don't wait till the next day so you might disturb them, right? So
by the end of that day, they might have made up with their boss. They could have had a chat to their wife who said, "You're crazy. You're not doing that." Just every single lead. And some franchisors say, "Oh, I just keep getting tire kickers." I love tire kickers because I guess I get to practice my art of being a great franchisor dealing with franchise inquiries. So I love all sorts of inquiries. I love speaking to all sorts of people because after every phone call, I reflect and say, what could have I done better? What could have I said? Did I listen enough? So a lot of franchisors don't listen. I'm a talker, right? So I get pretty excited. Someone calls up and wants to buy a franchise. I can just plow into them for 20 minutes and then I realize I haven't asked them one question. So I had to learn years ago is to ask good open-ended questions about them. It's all about them. It's not about us. It's about why you're doing this. What's your time frame to get into it? What's your financial situation? Can you afford this? How long could you go without making a massive income? Because it's going to take time to grow a business. Is your wife involved with this decision? Should I be catching up with them? Not me just plowing into them about how wonderful Pool Care is. Like we've got great franchisees. Like I got so much admiration for every one of our guys, especially over the last 6 months. Like to be in business through the last 6 months has been challenging for a number of reasons, but so proud of all of them. And I'd gladly give out any one of those guys' numbers. And that's another important thing if you are coming into business is speak to other franchisees. If you're buying a franchisor region, speak to other franchisors. Just arm yourself with information.
So with franchisors, how much do you reckon, in your opinion, so they should spend a month on inquiries or generate inquiries, and where should they spend that money from your experience to generate inquiries? It's always like everyone's got different schools of thought and does different things.
So one, you need to spend money. So don't kid yourself. If you're waiting for the leads to come through the gym system and you're upset because you're getting 2 or 3 leads a month, you're not doing anything. So spend money proportional to your franchise fee. So I don't know what division you're in, but our franchise fee is $44,000. So what would you spend to make $44,000? Would you spend $80 a month on a CCAD? Or would you get serious about a really strong Facebook social media campaign? Would you get serious about a Google pay-per-click campaign? Would you develop a LinkedIn strategy? Whatever it might be, you need to invest some time and definitely spend some money. And as I said, the challenge is if you burn through too much cash early, you're probably going to maybe give up or say, I won't spend any money for a few months. I think if you're going to do something like anything in business, have a cash flow plan for the year. If I've got $5,000 or $10,000 to spend, because I'm going to get $44,000 if I sell one. So if I throw $10,000 at that this year, which sounds like a massive amount of money, and I average that through the year, it's around $800 or $900 for the year. So I don't want to burn through 10,000 in 3 months and have nothing left. So what does that strategy look like? And then what's the best bang for buck? Well, you got to test and measure. You know all this stuff, Joel. It's where am I getting the leads from? And don't be scared to change it. That's the beauty of social media and all the marketing we're doing now. You can have A versus B testing. You can be looking at the data just by changing a word or an image or using a video instead of an image. And we've done a lot of that recently. And we know videos work. Videos get a lot more eyeballs and they get a lot more viewer time. They get a lot more click-throughs. But then even changing the video. So we're experimenting now with short videos versus long videos. I thought maybe a 15-second video would perform better than the minute one that I've got of myself. You may have seen it, me on the tools out there grinding it out. I thought it was too long. I thought a minute, who's got time, because I realize everyone's just fast nowadays. The minute video over the 15-second video worked heaps better. Same audience, exact same copywriting. And I was just blown away. I couldn't believe it.
Some videos need to be shorter just for the in-stream placement. So with Facebook, for example, it has to be less than 15 seconds to be placed in certain things. If it's longer than 15 seconds, it doesn't place it in, let's say, in-stream videos. That's why it says, you need to have a 15-second or shorter video. But it's just more so they can put
This is why I love talking to other people about marketing and business, mate. We can all, just by us having this conversation, I've got something to talk to my social media person about next week. Like little conversations like this are wonderful. But getting back to it, what's the budget? That's up to you. But don't kid yourself that you can't not spend money. You need to spend money. Don't waste money. Please do not waste money because you're going to run out very quickly.
What you said before was really, really key, and I still don't think it gets through a lot. You said the example of 44K, to generate a 44K amount of money as an investment outside of gyms, all right? Outside of gyms, if I said, all right, you could invest 2K with this marketing campaign to generate, most likely based on your figures and conversion rates and whatever, 44K, would you do it? Absolutely, you would do it. So it's that mindset. Let's say, that's got to be in the business. To generate this big chunk of cash would be 20K or 40K. Are you willing to spend, 2K or 4K to generate 20K or 44K? That's the way I would look at it if I was a franchisor. It's just purely an investment thing.
Is there no risk, Joel? Of course there's risk. We're talking about a money-making venture. If you wanted to earn 1% on your $100,000, put it in the bank and in 12 months, you'll get $1,000 back. Are you happy with $1,000 for your 100,000? Or do you buy a region, throw 10 grand at marketing for 12 months and your return on investment for that year might be $36,000 after you paid a few fees? That's a good return on investment.
Absolutely.
Some effort goes with that, of course. You've got to train a new person up and support them and look after them. But if you only did one a year for the next 5 years, that's a pretty good return on investment for your $100,000.
Yeah, I think what you said as well, like being consistent, like a lot of people will try something expected to work straight away. And then they just say, this is kibosh it and say, this is crap. And then they just forget about it moving forward. And that's the attitude where you sort of got to try and change, open up to things. Because with advertising, it's all about where's the cheapest attention. That's the way you look at it, right? So that's why I understand how people like TV, but TV is an expensive medium to get attention. So it's all about advertising. Where is attention cheap?
TV, you've got no data. Like you've got no tracking. Like it's crazy. Same as radio. You know, I wish we had hundreds of thousands of dollars and we could do it. And I don't mind radio sometimes because it's a bit cheap and it's a bit of noise. But TV and radio, you know, it's a never-ending money pit, and you've got no tracking. How do you know what happened from that?
Yeah, it's purely brand awareness, and that's the thing, right? So you don't want, most franchisors wouldn't want brand awareness. They want to know exactly where that money I spend gets the action, and it's just the attitude is, where is the attention the most cheapest, right? So when Google Ads first came out, that was really, really cheap. So everyone went to that, drove the price up. Now we've got social media, which is still really cheap, you know, compared to Google Ads, you know. So where's the attention the cheapest for you to put your money, regardless of what your personal thoughts are on that medium? Like people might go, I don't have Facebook, I don't understand it. Well, that's fine. But attention is really cheap on that platform. Yeah. And that's not me quoting, that's Gary Vee. So I'm quoting Gary Vee from this interview, whereas he says, I don't give a crap what the medium is. Where is the attention the cheapest? You know, and
that's interesting, Joel, is that when we have a pretty serious attack at selling franchises, so quite often the franchisors will throw in and we'll do a national thing.
Yeah.
Or a franchisor might do a local thing. There's a flow on for leads, just for work. Because it's what you talk about, brand awareness, is a lot of our ads show us, you know, cleaning pools, fixing equipment or whatever, trying to sell a new franchise. So you do get some return on investment. Well, it's not the return you want, but it's a bonus for your franchisees. And that's what we're here for. We're here to support the franchisees. So you've got your franchisee marketing money. You're making a bit of noise in the franchise sales space. So you actually get almost a win-win from doing it.
Yeah, generally works both ways, absolutely. And then also you're building an inquiry backlist. You know, if you've been doing for 5 years or 3 years, that money you invested in year one, you still got those inquiries you can market to, right? So you're creating yourself a backlist, which still is quite effective sometimes, you know, with regular updates and stuff as well. So you're building a big pipeline for years.
No, agreed. And I guess even in my own situation, I've got great franchisors. I reckon they're all champions, very different guys, and I love that. You know, very diverse bunch of guys. But we can do a national campaign with the exact same amount of spend. And we can have some guy gets 8 inquiries and one guy gets 1 and reckons it was a shit campaign.
Yep.
Now, I don't know why that happens. You know, I've got no idea. We've got the data that says same amount of views, same amount of clicks, but one guy gets more actual people filling in the form. But what we do from that is we go and change some things. But if you give up after month 1, month 2, month 3, and you're not constantly tweaking and changing, because it could have been maybe people in Perth react a bit differently to different imagery or a different bit of copywriting versus the people in Sydney or the people in Queensland. So Queensland, we know it's for some reason, it's about lifestyle. People just, and maybe because a lot of people are moving up here and they're transitioning up here. So they're looking at lifestyle. Whereas, you know, Sydney, Melbourne is more about focused on the business side of things. Still lifestyle because it is, you're in business for yourself, but people that are a bit serious there, they want to know they're going to make some money and that. So we have a slightly different pitch on those. With recent times, we've tweaked a bit of wording there about, you know, are you looking for a change? Do you not want to go back to the office next month? Like that, they're genuine questions.
And what do you think?
Only play with that if you do the course. You need to every month keep spending the money. I don't care whether it's 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000. Just stick at it all year round. Every month there needs to be some activity on selling franchises.
Yeah, I agree. And you've got to get a data set to where you know exactly what your cost per lead is or how much. Yeah. You know, if you've generated, you know, if you need 20 inquiries to generate 1 franchise sale and you're spending $20 to generate 1 franchise inquiry, so you need 20 times 20, you know, it gives you this amount of money. You go, oh shit, well, I can extrapolate that to be this, and I'm shooting theory get this and see if it holds steady. So you need to analyze your numbers with conversion rates and actually know what your cost per lead is. How many leads do you actually need to sell something is the key thing. I still don't think a lot of people really know exactly. A lot of franchisors do, but they're probably somewhere they probably need to probably look at the numbers and go, well, how many do I actually need through the system to convert someone? And how can I improve that conversion rate? Yeah.
I agree. Like what you said, everyone listening to this should listen to that. It's about the numbers and the data. We've got access to all this beautiful data. And we need to work with good people. If you know it, that's great. Do it yourself. Otherwise, you've got to engage some good people who can help you with it. And once you've got that target group, you talk about that demographic, Joel, and you can just rinse and repeat, and that the numbers should stack up, and you just keep popping out inquiries because you've found that sweet spot, like Facebook with lookalike audiences and all sorts of things. There's some great tools out there, but if you're just starting out and you know nothing about it, you need to engage some help. Don't go out there and just, Google search social media guide. Just speak to some other people who might have engaged some services of people. I find referral important in that space.
Correct.
On social media. Definitely you down there at head office, you would know plenty of people. That's good.
But I was thinking as well, do you as a divisional know your guys' numbers in terms of the conversion rates, or do you have an overview of each one of them, of how they're doing with their sales, and how do you help them out if they might be, let's say their conversion rate's blowing out a bit, and they're probably wasting a bit of money on inquiries?
I'll be honest with you, I'd like to be more on top of it. I was up until a couple of years ago, and our guys were converting at around, it was quite low. It was around 1 in 10, 1 in 12, which is quite low. But the problem was we were not getting enough in the funnel, right?
Yeah.
So that was the problem. So I went out and engaged a couple of social media companies via referral that generated squillions of inquiries, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inquiries, and overwhelmed the guys. And from that, we got a handful of sales away, which totally blew all our numbers and data completely out of the water. So, we had guys get 40 or 50 inquiries in a couple of months and didn't sell one. So, but on average, and I haven't looked at the data for a couple of months, on average, we know if we can get 10 inquiries in, we're going to get a sale away. We've got guys, like there's a guy down the road who probably about 1 in 6.
That's really good.
But that's also very deliberate. So our strategy about 3 or 4 years ago was to create a cookie crumb trail of information that by the time a prospect inquires, they know all about us. So plenty of good blogs. We've got a sub website, which is jimspoolcarefranchise.com.au. We've got plenty of videos. I want to do more, of course, Joel. Plenty of photography, plenty of testimonials from franchisees, because you're going to get a better quality franchise inquiry. And I feel we've had that over the last few years. We're getting better quality applicants, which means our conversion rate's a lot higher. So I just want to continue to grow Jim's Pool Care, for the foreseeable future. The goal for the next few years is 150, which I think is very achievable because we're starting to get a fair bit of unserviced work around the country. And keep putting good quality applicants into great territories all over Australia, and then help them make either plenty of money or give them a lifestyle they've always wanted. So
I think that's a good point. You said you put a lot online, and as you said, you hope they consume this content, so when they come to you, they do have an awareness about it. They're not cold in any way. But also say we need to not assume that people know about gyms, even though they recognise the logo, but don't assume they know about the benefits. And right, you've always got to sell on benefits, not features or anything. So make sure whenever you do your content online, try and talk as much about benefits as opposed to.
That's the power of what you've done with gyms over the last 12, 18 months, Joel. I think it's wonderful. Just having that content and that raw conversation with Jim. You've been very good at snipping up a lot of the gym's interviews. Like, they're really powerful things. We're talking that, 2 or 3 minute grab. You don't know what impact that little grab's going to have on some person who randomly comes across that, and Jim's. I
agree. I wish I could, because that would make it a lot better for me. But you're right. You're right. You just put it out there. It's like value, right? You just put it out there. I wish I could put a link tracker on all of them and say, that person's bought that franchise because they watched that. The only way I really know is from talking to people at training. Now let's talk about yourself. You get a lot of good positive feedback from Jim especially. So why do you think Jim likes you so much, and what makes you a really good divisional? He always raves about you.
A recent interview with him where he called me a surfy dude or something. So,
in an email, it said sees the surfy guy or something. Yeah.
I think years ago, like 10 or 12 years ago, I was going through the stage where I'd moved to Queensland. I started bloody bleaching my hair, and it grew like some sort of mop. And I went down to a annual conference with Jim or something, and he just said, have you turned into a surfer, Brett, or something? I said, no, I've never surfed in my life. And then ever since then, he's called me a surfer dude. I guess my relationship with Jim is I just like to be a straight shooter with people. And I like to make light of it. Like, business is stressful. So, and without being cliche, you live one life, so why not enjoy yourself on the journey? So I've tried to always enjoy the journey. Not to say it doesn't get stressful. Like it's, we're dealing with people's livelihoods here, and some things don't always go to plan. But I just tell Jim what I think. If I'm not happy with what he's doing, I tell him. If he's doing good things, I tell him. I hope I have his ear on some things, and I try and be a happy medium, and I try and represent the masses if I'm passionate about something. So I bounce my own thoughts around quite often before I'll engage Jim. I like to poke him and stir him up a bit. I've noticed you're getting good at that. I think the thing with Jim is he's very decisive, right? He's got a lot of decisions to make all day, every day, and he makes decisive decisions. And he pisses me off sometimes. I can't believe some of the things he does. But I think I know, most of the time he's trying to make the right decision quickly for the majority of people. So I've got to respect that, 3,800 franchisees, my God, a couple hundred franchisors and, all the staff at head office. He doesn't have time to dwell. So, he makes quick decisions. So if franchisors aren't happy with what he's doing, or divisionals, I just encourage you to give him some feedback, but in a clear, logical way. Take the emotion out. He's not emotional. You know him. Don't get emotional. We're wasting your time. Just give him the facts, give him the evidence, give him the justification. And he listens. He loves listening to people. People think you can't get through to him. I've got through to him lots of times. Does he change his mind on things? No, not always. But he's taken on board some feedback over the years. He's helped me and you get some stuff up with Gyms Online and FMS5. He's starting to let go a little bit and let people who are good at what they do what they should be doing. So because he's a bit of a control freak. But I think the long term for me in working with Jim is to let people like you do what you're good at. Let IT do what they're good at. And that's how we're going to really keep growing this business. I want Jim to be around for as long as he wants to be, because I think he's good for business. But
absolutely, I know, definitely. He's an Aussie entrepreneur icon. The last 18 months, definitely that's been the thing, is to push that Jim a lot more in the thingy, because he sells it the best. Just to hear the passion in the voice, and it's the great story, isn't it? The rags to riches story, and that's what everyone likes, is the underdog and doing really well. And I think we actually hit a record franchisee number just before the pandemic. We actually had an official record of franchisees, most ever. It was 3903 live data getting billed, because we don't take into account suspensions and that. So we put
3903. Wow.
If we counted on the system, I think it would have been 4,000. If that's not taking into account the suspensions and stuff. So I think it's 3903.
Well, I know that is a goal of his, 4,000. So 5,000.
We're going to be there. We're going to be in target to the end of the year. So we'll see what happens post this. But I'm hoping we have a boom. People. I think the key people need to understand now is that you're actually unsafe being employed. You're better off doing your own thing, because you can't get sacked from it, can you?
Yeah. No, I think there's a real shift going on out there. That we've had great conversations with prospective franchisees, and real undertones of like going to a business for stability. I want something a bit more stable. I want flexibility. I love being at home. I've worked from home for 3 or 4 months now. They're asking me to come back to the city. Other guys, we've had a handful of people who've just been put off. We're talking about people who've never been unemployed in their life, were put off with no notice. Like, how awful. That's awful. So take control of your own future, build this business. Your first year or two is going to be hard work, but imagine for the rest of your life, you can choose where and when you work. How cool.
You can't get sacked. You can't get made redundant from your own business, can you? So that's the key.
And that's what I love about the stories from my own franchisees, watching them come in, the anxiety about getting on board, and then watching them grow and prosper over the coming years, and then hearing the great feedback stories about what it's done for their relationship, or their access to their children, or holiday time, or the ability to make more money. Some guys are making double the money they used to within a couple of years now, and they didn't come in for that necessarily, but to have that ability is amazing. So all I say to franchisees is, set your goals, your clear goals, tell your franchisor what they are, and then just each year work with them on that till you're at a level that you're comfortable. And then once you're comfortable, we'll just keep fine tuning that with you, and you live happily ever after, and just follow the rules, do the right thing by customers. And we want you to just sail into the sunset. So
now, for some more specific franchisor advice, what advice do you have for, let's say, if you've got a franchisee who might be struggling a bit, or let's say not following the system? How do you pull them back in line? How do you deal with it? I know that's quite a common thing. You can have just people in nature. You might have 40 blokes and maybe two are giving you trouble, or you might have 150 and three are giving you trouble or whatever. How do you pull those people back into line, or how do you deal with the, let's say the 10% or the 20% who maybe take up
Yeah.
8% of your time?
You've got to sort of be a modern day sports coach or football coach. You've got to deal with the individuals. So quite often as franchisors and divisionals, we try and deal the message as a mass message. So you all should be doing this, and everyone should be completing, business reviews and business plans and doing local marketing and all this stuff. But once you identify an individual, and that can either be two ways. So one, you hear that, he's not doing well or he's struggling financially, or they reach out to you, you need to deal with it. And there's two ways to deal with it. You can, come in hard and tell them, I told you should have done all this stuff when you started, and why aren't you doing it? Or you can, sit down and have a really deep chat with them and find out why they aren't doing the local marketing. Why aren't they converting quotes? Why aren't they winning as many jobs? Why is the average dollar sale so low? Why don't they have many regulars? How come the guy down the road started at the same time? He's got 60 regulars and you've got 20. There's a trend here. So then you start to scalpel fix all those little things that's going to improve the overall thing. And sometimes, unfortunately, the franchisee is not suited to the business. So someone who comes into the business, it mightn't be that they're suited from the start, but they had enough energy up front that you granted them a franchise, and you didn't have the full story, and they just changed over time. And sometimes business can be overwhelming, and it's not for everyone. And you need to make it comfortable for them to leave. It's not a bad thing if it's like a job. If you didn't like a job, you just quit and go get another one. But for some reason with a business, people want to ride them to the death. And I think the best thing you can do if business is not suited for you is just speak to your franchisor and put it up for sale and get out and go do something that you're going to be more comfortable with, But
Yeah.
if you're passionate about it and you are keen on growing it, is find out what the problems are. Sometimes it's relationship problems. So it's not the business itself. There's something going on behind a wall. So as a franchisor, we have to call our franchisees every month. And plenty of times I get, yeah, Brett, all good. And then how's it going? How's the cash flow? Yeah, good. Okay, what can we do? We can't drive around the house and bust in the middle of the night and say, are you going all right? But if things aren't going all right, that's where you've got to have that coffee and have a chat and dig a bit deeper. And then quite often you find out there's other things. There's issue with children. We've all got teenagers and there's things happening there that can be distracting. Could be an illness, could be their illness, could be an illness in the family, could be some depression around. There could be a split with a partner or a wife. This is all real happening on this side, but on this side, I'm supposed to be growing a business. So they can come to you and say, I'm not making any money. So we don't overreact to that and go, you're not making any money, but you've been going a couple of years. You should be, this far down the track. Let me do some more marketing for you. Well, it's not about more leads quite often. Quite often it's not more marketing and spending more on ads and getting them more leads. It's about what are you doing with the leads we're getting you? What are you doing with all the customers that you went out and visited? How come they're not regulars? So, fix the engine, so to speak, rather than giving it a spray job and polishing it up with some more marketing, because what's the point in dumping more leads onto that guy when he's not going to do anything with them anyhow?
So you asked him that question, and let's say they might fob you off or whatever. How do you deal with that, actually finding out the facts? Let's say from your position, if they're not maybe, let's say, coming forward to you with what maybe the truth. How do you find that out? Like, let's say it's conversion, it might be mannerism on the phone, which you probably can know if you talk to them, or maybe do you go after a few clients, or how do you sort of get to the root of the problem?
Yeah, definitely. So we encourage franchisors to go out as required with the franchisees, especially if they're struggling, like go out and look at best practice. What are they doing? Are they following the system? Are they invoicing correctly? Are they quoting correctly? That's a great way to connect with a franchisee as well. You're getting in the trenches with them and helping them. There's definitely some stubborn franchisees out there. And you need to deal with that. But if they won't tell you what's going on, at some point you just need to document it and just say, look, here's a couple of options, because fees are a critical part of our system. They pay fees to the franchisor, the franchisor pays them the gyms, I pay fees, everyone pays fees. So if fees become a problem, it's normally the first sign that there's something underlying. If they miss a month randomly, it's fine. But if we have franchisees regularly missing fees, there's something underlying, because our fees as a percentage of what these guys could be turning over are very, very low. So that means they're not working enough. So why aren't they working enough? And then you have to deliver that email, because you should document everything that says, here's two options. One, you need to pay your fees and start doing all these suggestions that I believe you should be doing. Or two, I'm going to put it up for sale and you need to work with me on a good exit strategy so we can get you a maximum sale price that'll give you some breathing space to go on and do something else.
And
I
how
don't
quickly
like
yeah.
I don't like walkaways, Joel. That no one should be walking away. They should be building great businesses or selling them and getting out and making a return on investment and moving on to something else.
And how long do you let the fees go for? Like, I know some franchisors get in trouble sometimes and they let it go for 5 months and then they want to do something. You jump on it straight away first month, or how do you?
Straight away. They all should be on the Bill for You program with head office. No one should be doing their own invoicing. That's crazy. Everyone should be on Bill for You. Every franchisee should be on direct debit. As soon as there's a month missed, the franchisor should be having a serious conversation, because you can't let it go. It's not good for the franchisee either. If they've missed 1 month and you say, I'll wait for a couple of months, like, they could be way down a hole by then. You know, how they couldn't pay $1,000, how are they going to pay $2,000? So
I know some people might feel uncomfortable doing it, which is why maybe they let it go for 3 months because they want to be the nice guy. But as you said, you're doing him probably more harm than good if you let them go out 3 4 months.
Your job as a franchisor is to help them. You're not helping them if you're letting them not pay fees for 3 months. And I'm not being hard on the franchisee. You need to get in there and find out what's going on. Why aren't you paying? Your obligation when you signed up was to pay fees every month. And in return, I'm going to give you a system that if you follow, you'll build a great business. So there's something not right here. And as I said, just find out what that problem is. Help them as much as you can. If it's a time of year where there's not much work around, it's probably going to be problematic. So it may mean you need to develop a payment plan to get them through. So if you're a seasonal business like Pool Care, if a guy was really struggling in the middle of winter, I'd encourage a franchisor to do a payment plan. Like, we're not arrogant or awful about it. We will say, okay, that's genuine. You're trying, you've done a few things, you know you could do it better. So what I'm going to do is a payment plan. Let's do a payment plan till spring, and then spring you're going to do some local marketing and fire up your business, and then we'll review it then. Because we want to help people through. We don't want to exit people who are genuinely in a bit of hard time, right? So we are flexible with some franchisees, but if the franchisee is not willing to have the conversation and won't show you his hand.
And for yourself, I know you're big into personal development, reading a lot of stuff and taking advice from all channels. I know a lot of franchisors and gyms can tend to sort of stay insular and within the gym system, or within the gym's people in the system. What do you do outside of gyms to improve your business or to improve yourself, or motivation or ideas? What do you do? What do you look for?
Yeah, so I every few years or so I get a business coach. So I've got a great business coach at the moment, Tony Meredith Coaching. He's been great for me for the last 18 months. Coaches keep you focused and they make you accountable, which is the problem with all of us in business and even as employees. If you're not made accountable, if I said I was going to do something by next week and I don't do it and no one cares. But if that was an important thing I needed to do to grow my business and the business coach says, say, Brett, you said you were going to do that. And I say, I didn't do it. I'm now accountable. So when I know he's going to call me, I might quickly do it before he calls me because I want to make sure I've done it. Yeah. Business coaches aren't for everyone, don't get me wrong. And they do cost a little bit of money, but I believe they're worth the investment. Books. I believe in reading books. I'm not much of a digital reader unless it's snippets. So I like reading little blogs and articles. So I subscribe to different things. YouTube, there's so much good content. You need to find the motivator that works for you. So you'll get a bit of a theme from time to time of people who produce lots of good content. I go to seminars, I do webinars. So, when you're the franchisor or a divisional, even as a franchisee, you just got to step out of your comfort zone and surround yourself with other business people. They don't have to be gyms people. So a couple of times a year, I'll go to big business entrepreneurial seminars and I get great energy out of that stuff. And you always go away with a couple of ideas. Some of them are free. There's plenty of free webinars, seminars, because they're going to try and get you into the $100 course or into the $500 course, into the $10,000 course. You might go through a few of those steps and keep getting more and more content till you're happy. or you might go all the way to the end and do the full course, whatever works for you. But if you're not immersing, so we're in business, if you're not immersing yourself in business thinking, you're really just working alone and winging it, you know, because the business world is moving so quickly at the moment. You need to be immersing yourself with what's going on out there. You need to be able to talk the talk, whether it's, you know, social media, trends around technology, invoicing, bookkeeping, accounting, all that stuff. It's moving so quickly.
I think you've got to have a learning mindset, don't you? You obviously have a learning mindset. I know from our chats before, you're always, you know, as you said, you invest in yourself, which I think is an important thing, which a lot of people don't think they do. They don't like, they'll spend money on, let's say, something, you know, external or whatever it is, but rather than, you know, getting a coach or something sometimes, even though it's a big investment, sometimes it can really be worth it to give it a go.
Yeah. And it is money, mate. Like, you know, if I don't feel I've got $1,000 and there's a course coming up, I'm probably not going to do that course. But what if I did that course that gave me an idea that helped me sell 2 franchises? Man, that's a lot of money. So that's a lot of money. But now you've got to pick which course you do or which seminar you go to. But don't be scared to invest in yourself. And sometimes you've got to back yourself, because quite often the wife says, you spent how much on a course? You're going for how many days? So I don't do the 3-day seminars anymore, or 2 days. So I try and do anything that's a half day or a day, or online webinars nowadays, because I've got 3 young girls who chew up a lot of time on weekends, and a lot of time those courses are on weekends. But there's so much content for free, Joel. You know it. Like, there's just so much good stuff out there. Just have a look.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I'd love to hear if other franchisors watch this, what they actually look at. There might be some other franchisors who have coaches in their business, or they have some sort of online things they do. And I think it's really important to keep learning. The learning mindset, I know Jim always goes on about it, but he listens to an audio book a day or whatever every second day, and just always learning.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. For such a busy man, and he's still consuming all that content. That's amazing.
And I think also that what you've got a good mindset towards change as well. I know, especially now, a lot of people don't like change and it's uncomfortable and stuff, but like, you know, you might feel out of your depth for something, but why not invest some time in learning something new? Or if not, you know, outsource it and pay for it, depending on whatever it is.
Mate, I don't know what the data is or the stats, but the rate of change is going vertical, mate. Like, and I don't want to change, so I don't implement changes for our group for the sake of change. I'll only roll out things if it's either faster, more efficient, or they make more money, or they save money, right? So they're my sort of criteria before I implement technology or change suppliers or do something like that. But if I'm not immersing myself in that, how would I know there was an opportunity to do something better and faster? So
how much time a week do you reckon you would spend on yourself in terms of learning or educating yourself on some new things? Or
it's become a bit blurred in the last few years with social media, because I can find myself vegged out on the couch just chewing up too much time, because there's so many good grabs of information. But I'd believe probably 2 to 3 hours a week. So if I added up all the grabs and, you know, trying to stay awake at night and read a book for half an hour, and then all the little snippets and grabs. But, you know, during the day, you know, you can have a couple of 2 or 3 minute grabs. You go, that was a motivator. That was excellent. If I'm feeling flat, I listen to stuff on the way to work. I've got a couple of podcasts and that I follow.
What ones do you listen to?
So I'll bring up a couple quickly now. And these are free ones, so they're quite good. There's a guy that's been around for years. It's the small big business. Timbo Reid, have you heard of him?
Never heard of him. No, I have to look him up.
Mate, he's got a monstrous backlist of content around marketing. So he's all about marketing. He's great. If you want to step out of your comfort zone and stretch your brain, I've been listening to billionaires getting interviewed. So that's billionaires getting interviewed.
Yeah.
Because I just find it fascinating how big people think. There's a really good guy, younger bloke called Lewis Mocker. I don't know if you've come across him at all.
No.
He's a good one. Jack Delosa podcast.
Yeah, I know Jack Delosa. Yeah.
He's definitely he's gearing you up to one of his programs. He's got some good coaching programs.
I know the program, the Entourage, what it's called.
That's it. But he gives away so much good content. So Jack Delosa, you can follow him. And depending how I'm feeling, there's another guy called Dale Beaumont, which is Business Blueprint. Subscribe to him, and it's a never-ending trail of emails and podcasts and whatever. all free because he wants to gear you up to his coaching program that I've never done. So I've been following him now for about 8 years and only paid for a couple of little seminars and webinars, and I've just got so much out of him. But you need to start somewhere. So I just, have a look around at a couple of those ones that I've suggested and just start listening to them. But I was saying I listen to them on the way to work because how you start your day is important. So you've got to have a good routine. And sometimes I'll just be driving in and I like listening to music and I think, geez, I'm a bit flat. So I'll just grab any one of those and 5 minutes later, for some reason, I'm fired up again. So
yeah. I think it's important for franchisors as well. Like, it's going to be like a wave. I remember, I think it was you saying that. You said the wave, didn't you? Ride the wave of business. And when you're at that flat spot, what do you do to get yourself out of it? Do you sink further, or do you take some action or proactive action in your business, or just for yourself personally to do something for yourself, maybe to get yourself out of that and back on track?
Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's up to all of us. It's up to you. Some of the AFL guys watching might know Tommy Hafey, amazing footballer from many years ago, tough as nails, player and coach. And we got him to a Jim's Pool Care conference in Melbourne before, unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. And when he finished his keynote, he said, "If it is to be, it is up to me." So those 10 words. And he said, if you live your life like that and take responsibility, then you've got no option but to be successful and own your journey. So
I think that's a great point. The victim mindset, especially now, is really easy to fall back into. And, you can't blame some people for doing that. But as you just said, it's a great quote from Tommy Hafey, but just in general, just having a proactive mindset and being responsible for yourself. Don't worry about whatever else is doing, worry about yourself and what you can do about your situation. So, that might not be things in your business even. That could be things for yourself personally. You might take up something new, you might learn an instrument, you might do a bit more exercise, you might want do a bit of health, and that's going to help you feel better for the day and be a bit more energized.
Yeah, I agree. So you're probably onto something there. So just quickly, I realise we're running out of time. Is you've got to have side interests as well. You can immerse yourself in business and just let it totally absorb you. But, some of the best business operators I know who are making great money still go to the gym a couple of times a week, take their wife out for dinner a couple of times a week, pick up the kids from school. You've got to have some other interests. But I like what you said, and I think that's more relevant in the last 4 or 5 months. I've never seen so many people buying guitars. My daughter, who's got a guitar, the local guitar shop's out of guitars. Hey! Yeah, you play Stairway to Heaven yet, mate?
Oh, just barely. Yeah, barely.
No Stairway. But the local bike shop. So I've been into mountain bike riding on this recent fad, and he was literally out of mountain bike. So he said it's just embarrassing. Normally has 50 or 100 bikes. He's got no bikes in there. But what I was excited about is people are now starting to say, well, I've got a bit of extra time, or I'm at home a bit more. I've always wanted to do X or Y, and then now they're doing it. So there's a lady up the road who works with a global corporate, I think it's PwC, because she's always commuting into the city and going to all these meetings. Now she's working from home. She's walking the dogs every day. And she said she's operating at such a higher level now for her work, because she just looks forward to getting up. She grabs the dogs, goes for a walk for a half hour, comes back, has breakfast. She said she's so much more productive. She just loves it. She said she doesn't know whether it's a mindset change or what it is. She just feels great. She just loves working. So
I think it's a great time for people, especially in Big Metro or just in general, just to reset and do some more things for themselves, I reckon, or reconnect with their kids or family, or get to know them a bit better, or be a bit selfish almost.
We could all become better cooks, Joel, surely.
Absolutely. I've heard that a few people. I've heard a few franchisors they're going to take up cooking and stuff like that. So
Friday night, Joel, what are you cooking tonight, mate?
I've got the missus coming over, so just asked to bring a bottle of wine, so maybe just a bottle of wine, mate.
A bottle of wine, some cheese and crackers, maybe a baguette, go all French.
We'll see, mate. We'll see. We're not that fancy. We'll see where we go. But what I'll do is, so anyone who's interested in learning more about the Pool Care franchise, Brett, or yourself, what can they do to contact you or find out more?
So if you'd like to learn more about a Jim's Pool Care franchise, then definitely reach out. So you can call the 131 546 number, and the call centre will put you in touch with your local regional franchisor, who'd be glad to send you an information pack, shoot you a couple of emails, and catch up for a coffee. We've also, on our website, there's a contact form. So digitally, you can reach out to us. We've got a franchise-specific website, which is Jim's Pool Care Franchise, which has got a contact form on it as well. And all those local franchisors will look after you. I'm also happy to speak to anyone inquiring about a franchise. I'd like you to contact your local franchisor first, but always make myself available to have a chat if you want to speak with me directly. So you can just speak with the franchisor or the call center, and they'll pass you my details or connect you to me. And I wish anyone getting on board with a Jim's franchise, whether it's ours or another one, all the best on the journey. And if it's not for you and you're getting into something else, again, wish you all the best. We want people who are 100% on board, and if you are, we'll look after you.
What's your opinion on that, just real quickly, for franchisors, about the info pack thing? You've got some who say don't give them the info pack until you meet them, or you meet them virtually or whatever, or they send an info pack with an email straight away and follow the inquiry.
Yeah, we've tried all sorts of strategies there. So a reduced info pack, a digital info pack, posting the full info pack. I can't conclusively say, but what we now do is we send a shortened digital info pack, and then when we're reaching out to the prospective inquiry, we like to hand deliver that info pack at the first meeting. And if we can't, we'll just put one in the post. I just think we've got to get as much information in the hands of the person inquiring. But I would say if you have been sent an info pack in the post or a digital info pack, don't read it in isolation. There's a lot to getting into business. Some franchisees will focus on prospective franchisees focus on the fees. We're not talking about wages here. A lot of people are used to earning wages. It's not the fees you're focusing on. What you really should be focusing on is how much money you can make and how long that's going to take to start making it. So,
that's a very good point. Thanks you very much for your time.
No worries, mate.
Made the podcast.
No, I enjoy chatting to you.